Hello! Welcome to the day that it is at the time that you're watching this. I'm Roth Cornet. That's Spencer GIlbert.
Ahoy, hoy.
Ahoy, ahoy! And Dan Murrell has joined us as well.
I'm re-beveraged.
And we have re-beveraged. We are playing this. It's part of the Corona series, so we don't know when this is going to be available to you, but it'll be around. Segment 1, movies that changed their fate. This is via a list from Ranker, and basically it's just kind of looking at movies that many prognosticators were going, it's going to be a disaster, and then it wasn't.
They either beat the odds or they stepped on a rake and it hit them in the schnoz.
Yeah, that's right. And, you know, we've been prognosticating about some movies this year, one in particular called New Mutants, and maybe we'll be eating our New Mutant crow.
Yeah.
Is there a crow mutant?
There are bird mutants.
Yeah.
The angel.
Yeah, for
He's
one.
not a bird.
He has feathers.
He's an angel.
That's an insult.
He has
Angels
bird
everywhere.
feathers. He has bird feathers.
Well, we'll see. We'll see what we were right about and what we were wrong about, but certainly people were wrong about Titanic. So I don't know if you guys, you remember this? You remember this film called Titanic?
Yeah.
It was a big hit.
We heard about this.
This was in 1997, and basically everyone thought that this movie was going to be a big, big disaster. Variety featured a daily update called Titanic Watch. It was a print column, chronicling the movie's troubles. Came in at an estimated $300 million, which included $100 million solely to constructing the Titanic replica. A bunch of stuff happened on the set. We were just talking about the clam chowder was dosed with LSD or PCP.
PCP, yeah.
I mean, like, it just
harder.
Everything was. Thank you. Everything
Not
was
you,
going.
the people on PCP.
I don't know.
Build a ship. Build a ship.
Yeah, they might have been working harder, but like at the wrong things.
Yeah, sure.
You know, like,
Why are you scrubbing the fake decks?
like, it needs to be clean. Yeah. So anyway, it was a disaster. Everybody thought it was going to be a huge disaster. They compared it to Waterworld. It's going to end all. It's going to be
film on the water.
The writers at all the trades had written "It sinks" on their
on
typewriters, and
yeah.
they were ready to hit send.
Yeah. But no, it was a huge hit.
Well, and it was delayed, too.
Yeah.
It was supposed to be a summer movie, and then it got pushed to December, which may ultimately have been what caused it to become the highest grossing film of all time, because it had all of January and February and March to run pretty much unopposed.
Did you guys see Titanic in the movie theaters?
Sure.
Did you see it? Yeah, I saw it 4 times.
Yeah.
I went to see it with my mom. Took me and my friend, my best friend at the time, Lisa Chandelia Rocca, to see Titanic, and then Lisa Chandelia Rocca and I went back for seconds and thirds and fourths. That movie, that was one of the big things about that movie, was that it was the repeat viewers, which of course there's a ton of movies that have become very successful at the box office because of repeat.
I mean, it
not
played
unlike
forever.
Yeah,
It was still in theaters in a time now when it would be coming out on Blu-ray and digital HD. It was still, you could still go see it in March on a premium screen, you know, because there was 1, less competition, and 2, people were still going to see it.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing when you think about it in retrospect too, because it's like, man, we were so addicted to the love story of one woman ruthlessly murdering her paramour. Poor Jack just shoves them right off that
I mean, you
raft.
had to see it 4 times to really do the math of like door width and buoyancy and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But
He tries to get on it one time, and it doesn't work.
He doesn't make a huge effort, considering that his literal life is on the line.
He literally kind of like,
You know,
it's
Maybe
like
he
trying to
was-
get into an inner tube, and then you're just like, instead of getting in, you're just
he
like,
might have been looking for
whatever.
an out.
yeah,
Yeah, I think he was done.
He just
He was tired of-
really quickly sinks into the abyss. Like, he just welcomes the darkness.
But he may have
beforehand.
seen, you know, a bit of scaffolding over that he could have, you know.
Yeah.
He was tired of being a tramp.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's a tough life, you know.
You know what I was tired of? That goddamn song being played all the
bad.
time in 1997. I remember, I don't know if other people's elementary schools did this, but we had a thing called Music for Lunch Bunch, where people who had different musical...
literally no one
It
did
sounds
that.
like something you would hate.
Yeah, well, you know, it was fun at the time because plenty of kids played instruments or sang or what have you, and you know, there's some particularly memorable renditions of Wonderwall that I'll never forget. But if you played an instrument or whatever,
More than
like,
words here and there.
stuff like that, yeah. So
sure,
so once a month,
certainly.
like if you do like your piano recital that you've been
Yeah.
working on, like while everyone else ate lunch, and I think that the record but by no means the only time, was we had 3 different young women do My Heart Will Go On during one Music for Lunch Bunch because they had all been practicing and they all wanted to outshine each other.
Did they sing?
Yes.
Was one better than the other?
Yes. Lisa De La Marter. She really killed it, and she was so like overcome with emotion afterwards that her mom like whisked her away. Like she had to like go home afterwards.
Very
she laid it all on the line.
Very dramatic antics. Wow.
Yeah.
She left it on the floor.
Yeah, she had like a gown. She was wearing a gown and everything. Like.
Serious question. Was this in like an outdoor foyer? Like where was the piano?
Like a gymnasium, and like the music teachers on the company.
Did they provide lunch, or did you bring your own?
It was. I think that this was like one of the rare, like they once or twice a month they'd like bring in, a hot lunch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you got some hot lunch, and some hot tunes.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that was Titanic.
I think I did like a jazzy piano thing one time. That was probably it. Yeah. I wasn't really musical then.
I immediately saw Linus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So I feel like we've educated you quite a bit on the lunch bunch.
Music for lunch bunch.
Music for lunch. I mean, Cameron does it again, obviously, with Avatar. Industry experts predicted that the 3D would be his final, like, this is going to be it. Like, he pulled it through with Titanic, but this is going to be a huge flop. The technology, and then, of course, he was like, no, this is going to change. This technology is going to change movies forever. Neither thing happened. There was a period of times when we were inundated with a lot of unwanted 3D movies that were not even filmed correctly, and they weren't really making use of. They were post-converted, and they were all really bad.
Toy Story 3 is very dark.
Yeah, and I'm gonna name the actual best use of 3D in history. Yes, it is 100% Jackass 3D. It is the only use case that for 3D
enhance the experience
in all of history where it truly does enhance the experience.
Definitely, 100%.
The emotional impact is
yeah, you're there. You're in it. It's immersive.
That hand is coming at you.
It's coming. Yeah, the buzzer, the mouse traps, all of it. Well, just sidetrack on 3D. And Dan, as a charting person, I found it interesting that part of the explanation for why there was such a proliferation of 3D movies was that China at the time, they have quotas for the amount of American releases. They had an additional few slots for 3D films.
Yeah.
So if you want a better chance of releasing in China, or they had filled all their other international release slots, you could crappily convert your 2D movie to a 3D one and come out
and charge more.
That was one of the main reasons for it, especially at that time, was because there was that limit on U.S. films in China, but 3D was like somehow in its own category, which is so weird.
Thanks, Avatar.
Well, people say like Alice in Wonderland. Yeah. How did Alice in Wonderland make $1 billion? It's because it came out in spring 2010, right after Avatar.
Yeah.
So people that were like jonesing for more of that 3D stuff went to go see that ugly yellow mustard looking version of Alice in Wonderland.
Well, I will say this though, he does know how to use the technology, because while like categorically no question about it, Jackass 3D is the only positive use of 3D and the best use of 3D. Facts. I remember that at the time, because I was like, why are we being drowned in all of this 3D? And it was like this dumb rule where suddenly you can get more films into China and open up that market. But also, he was pushing for it so hard, but he made a number of movies. Like, do you remember the movie that he made that took place in the caves?
The Abyss?
No, he didn't direct it. He produced it. But it was a 3D movie that was really terrible.
Oh, yeah. I know what you're talking
but it was
about.
gorgeous. Like, it was underwater 3D, really beautiful. Prometheus, actually, I thought was really pretty 3D. But the movie.
Right. Yeah. And I love the awkward, like, there's some movies now that you rewatch, like, that were made for 3D that now I rewatched recently The Great Gatsby, the 2013 version with Baz Luhrmann that did with DiCaprio, that was made for 3D, and it's so weird. That Hugo is also a little weird the same way. It's just like, if you're watching it not in 3D, it's like, this is an odd aesthetic choice, and then you realize that it was done because it was like, the 20s are coming in your face.
Yeah.
At your face.
Give it,
It was a wild time.
Look at the 1%. Feel the wealth. Feel the wealth right up in your face. Right all over your face.
It was a wild time.
Yeah. Money. Never mind.
Yep.
I know where you're going.
Let's take it back.
Just take a sip of one of my 7
Take it
drinks.
back. Take a sip. Feel the wealth. Moving on.
It's our 5th show today. I think you can grant us something.
Credit to Cameron. First of all, I will say for the record, and we were talking about this, like, I love James Cameron. I really unabashedly do. And there's a book that Rebecca Keegan wrote about him that I highly recommend called The Futurist.
Journey to the Center of the Earth.
Yes. It's great. But remember, we're not just talking about 3D with Avatar, because it was also performance capture, which actually was and has been incredibly innovative and I think used really well over the years. Like, I don't think he does get enough credit for doing crazy shit like going to the Marianas Trench. Like, he's nuts. He will just have a vision and get it done because he's relentless. And I will say there was a thing called Avatar Day that was one of the first press events that I attended. It was for the Blu-ray release, and they took you to the studio in Culver City where they created Avatar, and they had a bunch of like the post effects people, and they had the simulcam, and you were able to use the simulcam. I might have knocked out a bunch of other reporters and able to be the one that used the simulcam. It was neat. But I remember this guy who had actually worked on the production was sort of sitting to my right as they were like, blah, 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 PR, and I was like, hey, what was it like to work for James Cameron? And he just looks at me and he goes, it's hell here.
Oh, no. Cool.
So, Batman.
It's hell here.
I just also think, like, he's a guy, though, that if he has a vision, he will get it done.
Sure.
Oh, yeah. No, he's a more judiciously private Michael Bay. I don't think he's as open about his demanding nature as Michael Bay is.
I think he's probably more self-reflexive about it, too, and maybe has made some changes over the years.
He's not going to yell at an extra to say that it's cheaper to digitally erase them.
Yeah.
Openly.
Yeah.
Perhaps privately, but not openly.
Batman, 89.
Not popular with fans. They had to rush out.
Letter writing campaigns about Michael Keaton.
If you ever see the first trailer for Batman, the 89 version, Tim Burton's Batman, it's super weird. Because it's literally just random scenes chopped together. And the reason partly for that is because the buzz around the movie was so bad that Warner Brothers said, we've got to get something out there because we're taking a beating here. And so they put together a really choppy trailer. And then people were like, yay.
Yeah, simple times to when if everyone hated your movie, they had to hate it so much that they would go through the trouble of like taking out a piece of paper and writing with a pen,
finding an address,
out, like an editor's I guess some like what would like the film
I think you'd have to find, or you'd have to find the, well, if you want to write to a film magazine or if you want to write to the studio, you just had to look up the studio's street address, buy a stamp.
I'm tired just hearing you guys talk about this. It feels like way more than I would be willing to do. But I think what people don't understand too about Batman 89 in particular, is the state of comic book movies at that time. I think there was rightfully a big question mark about a movie like that. But then two, like the phenomenon around it, you know, it was like in terms of merch and the scope of the phenomenon around this film.
Yeah, I mean, Superman was a success before it, but Superman was, you know, a family film, and it was it had its bright and optimistic tone. And Batman, the last time people had seen Batman on screen was like Batman 66, like Adam West.
That's the weird. And Superman himself in '87 completely just self-destructed with the whole nuclear man thing. You know, the last time they saw a superhero on screen was Superman, like the Quest for Peace, where he's fighting a mulleted guy on the moon.
With long
and
fingernails.
then the year before that was Howard the Duck.
Yeah.
So the comic book movie name was pretty sullied, and Batman people thought of, because I'm going to date myself here. I remember a little bit a world pre-Tim Burton Batman, and Batman was Adam West. If you were going to watch Batman, you were watching the 60s TV show. And like the adult comic fans had Dark Knight Returns and all that stuff, but like Batman to the wider culture, particularly younger audiences, was Adam West. That's what Batman was. It was corny. It was for kids.
It was a Super Friends.
It was,
But there was also, I mean, the thing that was interesting about this movie is this is an era where, like, suddenly it wasn't just like merch like we think about it now, where it would be like your Spider-Man t-shirt or whatever. It was like the bat symbol on everything, you know, like shoes and jackets and like kind of like not as overtly merch and symbols, but using the symbol in somewhat subtler ways, but like literally everywhere.
I had a couple friends that had it shaved in their head.
Bad dance. Shaving it in their heads.
Yeah.
I mean, this was
bat
like
symbol shaved in their head.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's badass, man.
Here's one where I don't, because this is like, we would have prognosticated about this, Deadpool. And I think the prognostication wasn't so much that it was going to be a bomb. I think there was a question because it was a hard R comic book movie. But like for a long time, would we ever just see Deadpool was the question.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it was terrible. All right, we'd seen the first version.
We had seen
of
a
Deadpool
bad
that was
version.
Awful.
Yeah.
And then we found out there was the test footage, and then it was this movie the studio didn't want to make.
We've now like personally interviewed, I feel like everybody who would have leaked the test footage.
Mm-hmm.
Like we've talked
they all denied
to
it?
Ryan Reynolds, we've talked to
Tim Miller.
Tim Miller, yeah, and then the other guy, the John Wick guy.
David Leitch.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we have.
So it's like they all deny it.
Of course they do.
They're all lying.
They're all lying.
I think they all did.
It was a conspiracy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. They knew they had something great. Because sometimes you have to make something to prove it. Like it just writing Deadpool R-rated comic book movie on a piece of paper is not enough to get their imaginations going, because he's also like just the way he moves and everything. It's hard to describe. So actually having that teaser is probably the only way that this would ever have happened.
But as far as the skepticism goes, correct me if I'm wrong, but was it not you, Mike Carlson, and I want to say Mark Andreyko, who did a Screen Junkie show when the first trailer came out? And I just remember people were very upset at us because you were all just like,
I don't know. That sounds like something we would do.
It does, doesn't it? I just remember we did a panel when the first Deadpool trailer came out, and the response from everyone on the show was kind of like,
I need to rewatch the trailer because it probably isn't an R-rated. Well, maybe
I
it
believe
is.
that's where you said bridge pool first. And you're just like, what is this, bridge
The
pool?
whole thing takes place on a bridge.
Exactly, yeah. So
How do you remember that? Wow.
I believe that the initial response, at least from even our panel when we did Screen Junkie show, was like, I don't know, we'll see. So I think I think once something succeeds, you put on the rose-colored glasses a little bit more. But
I know it all along.
There are big questions around Deadpool. Is like, is it going to really be stupid? And Ryan Reynolds,
Sophomoric.
Like, Ryan Reynolds was not at that time. He was liked, but he wasn't the Ryan Reynolds of today.
I don't think you watched enough of The Proposal, sir.
He had his audience, and then he proven his bona fides because he like threw himself into the Green Lantern movie before that. Like,
Yikes.
It wasn't for lack of trying.
Yeah.
So
You kind of, I remember the feeling was you kind of wanted it for him.
Yeah.
Like you could just tell that he wanted it so bad that you wanted it for him.
Totally.
Yeah.
And that's when you're like, why am I worried about this celebrity getting happy when I have my own misery to contend with?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very confronting, actually.
I don't know. And maybe I'm skewed, or maybe I'm projecting my own feelings on it. But I remember there being a greater well of skepticism around Deadpool before it came out than, and then when it came out, everyone liked it.
Do you know what I remember there being a great pool of skepticism around was 21 Jump Street. Like, that's the one that came out most recently where I was shocked. I went in there, and I don't know why, because I had actually seen their other movies, but I went in there like, you're so insane. I love it. I do the same thing at home all the time, Beverage Alley, because you want options.
You do.
Life is about variety.
Shot
It's
in
the
a
spice
chaser.
of life. Variety is the spice of life in beverages. And partners, if that's you. I'm not here to judge. The point is 21 Jump Street ended up being a really welcome surprise.
Yes.
I don't really remember the buzz before that movie came out. I just remember seeing it and loving it.
Because I was in an early screening, and I remember going in and thinking it was a really dumb, bad idea, and could not work, and I was proved very wrong.
I thought that very same thing about another film, which was the Lego Movie.
Oh, did you also?
I was convinced that the Lego Movie was the stupidest idea I could possibly think of. That was Lord Miller too.
Yes, it was.
I remember walking into the Lego Movie being like, "Oh God, this is gonna be so dumb." Like Lego, like this is the pinnacle of like crass commercial. Like, and then it was great.
But you hadn't seen Emoji Movie yet, and that's why you thought that.
Well, yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
But yeah, I felt the same way you did about 21 Jump Street. I felt about the Lego Movie, and then I came up like, "Wow, I like that. That's great. They did it. I don't know how."
On those shoulders is where they built their reputation of being able to take any seemingly on paper dumb
Spin
idea.
crap into gold.
Yeah.
And then Disney
Hollywood's
fired them
golden
for it.
geese.
Yeah.
Well, Thank you
Wish I
for
could've seen
liking.
that.
Huh?
I wish I could have seen that movie.
Which one?
Their Solo.
Me too.
Yeah.
I'm still curious.
I bet it was really good.
I bet it was
funny.
great. But although the rumor was, and who knows, that they were really struggling with him.
Maybe.
Like
Perhaps.
they couldn't get the kind of performance that they needed out of him to make that movie work. And so they would do like 30, 40, like so many takes that it was really painful for everybody on set and putting them behind. Because maybe he wasn't.
Be funny.
Well, it wasn't. I mean, to me, it's like not that he was the wrong actor, maybe, but maybe he was the wrong actor for the movie they wanted to make, which probably would have leaned into the essence of Han in terms of like funny and pithy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he does look like him.
He does. He looks
You
like
know,
a
you
young
can't deny
Harrison.
that
He's
looks
got the
like
look.
him.
But he's so funny in Hail Caesar.
He is. I know.
If that was the kid, I don't know. That's just hard for me to.
But it, like that was just the
Different kind of
pervasive
humor.
rumor was like they just couldn't get it out of him, or like they didn't. It wasn't a match.
Maybe.
But thank you for liking, subscribing, sharing, commenting, sticking with us in our Corona season. I hope nothing really bad. By the way, this is weeks later, so like if anything really bad has happened between now and then, I fully apologize. I hope the world is actually doing great.
Yeah.
And Tuxedo Masks asked, soft or hard shell tacos? Man, you asked the hard one.
This is a complicated question for me.
Tough. I mean, there's sub questions within this because then it's like corn or flour. You know, if you're going.
I mean, corn.
Sure, unless it's a breakfast taco.
Right. Well,
I
the
like
naturally
flour.
flour.
Yeah.
I mean,
There's layers to this.
I have a business type requirement. If it's
Okay.
a sit down restaurant, if I'm sitting down and ordering, and I have a menu in front of me, hard shell.
Hard shell? Oh.
If I am standing up at a stand or at a restaurant that you order at a window, soft shell.
is it the ease of eating it?
No,
What's the experience?
I just find, I don't know, maybe it's a psychological thing, but I just find that I'm more in the mood for a hard shell taco if I'm sitting at a restaurant and eating, and I enjoy tacos, soft shell tacos that are made, because generally the ones that you get at a stand are the smaller kinds that aren't as big.
Yeah.
So they're small, you know, they're mini tacos, and I like those because then you can get different kinds.
Yeah.
But I guess when I'm at a restaurant, I'm more in the mood for like a meal. So I get a hard shell taco, and you know, it's a bigger portion. I don't know. I'm odd. I have very odd food. It was what we're learning the last few weeks. I have very odd food opinions.
No, that actually tracks. That makes sense.
I think hard shell.
I think that's the logical. I could follow the logical thread quite easily.
Hard shell for an Americanized taco, and by that I mean with
the ground beef,
and the shredded lettuce
cheese.
and shredded cheese on it. That's hard shell. Like just kind of ties that all together real nice. But yeah, if the tortilla's been made freshly or at least that day, like why are you gonna go fry it? Like it's good as is. So otherwise soft.
I think I'm pretty committed to being a corn tortilla soft shell taco woman. Notable difference and exception, of course, is the breakfast taco.
Yes.
Because what are we, animals? We're not a farmer.
Not beasts.
No, farmers are delightful, but we're not animals.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, clearly flour. God, breakfast.
So hungry.
Breakfast. Okay, here's another follow-up. For breakfast, breakfast taco, breakfast burrito, breakfast quesadilla.
I don't do any of that fusion stuff when it comes to. If I'm eating breakfast, I'm eating it.
Breakfast.
Yes.
What's a Dan breakfast?
A Dan breakfast?
Yeah.
Like I'll enjoy. If I'm going to sit down and eat breakfast, a couple eggs, maybe some bacon or sausage, toast.
Yeah.
Depending on how hungry I am. Not so much too sugary for me.
Okay.
But depending on how hungry I am, I love a good hash brown.
Oh,
great.
Not all that at the same time. Like,
but like
a combination
the
of 2 to 3
single
of
hash brown
those.
that's like the one,
No,
like the puck, or like
it's been keep it on
like
a
the-
grill. It's
okay.
been flipped and everything else.
like breakfast
classic
potatoes.
breakfast.
Yeah. Well, no,
like a
breakfast
diner
potatoes
breakfast.
are different.
Okay.
Those are-
Breakfast potatoes are like chunks of potatoes. I'm talking like the
hash brown. Okay, got it.
The slices of potato.
The shredded.
But yeah, not that patty that you get at McDonald's. Although I enjoy a McDonald's hash brown.
Yeah.
I mean, like you've had a guy with whatever that thing's called
then
on a
he's-
grill, and it's been flipped, and it's a nice crunchy outside.
Yeah. Delicious.
Love it. But yeah, I don't do the breakfast. It's like, why mash it all together? I like to enjoy them separately.
Okay.
As their own things.
You like to honor what they are.
I like to honor them
In their purest form.
individually. Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I love a breakfast burrito. I'm
Me
not gonna lie.
too.
Yeah, with get some eggs, some chorizo, maybe throw some tots in there.
Oh God,
some hot sauce.
I'm so hungry.
Yeah, that's good living.
Yeah.
More realistically, it's a cup of coffee and a bowl of cereal. But if I have time,
what kind of cereal? We're talking like a muesli here. What's the situation?
Yeah, generally like the Raisin Bran, but not the flakes, like the bunches of oats and stuff like that. The clusters, Raisin Bran clusters. I'm into that.
Interesting. Okay, I'm surprised. Is it standard milk?
This is a post baby thing where I don't have time to actually make breakfast, so I'm back on my cereal game.
Okay.
Pre-baby. Didn't you once
make
an
avocado toast situation?
Oh yeah.
Didn't you once make like 15 breakfast burritos?
I did.
I remember that
one
moment.
time.
Yes, I did.
And
I froze each one of them, and every morning
Yes.
I would unwrap a little treat.
I remember that.
Again, that was great.
You bulk made them.
I did that several times, but then I made one bad batch and then just suffered through like 28 days of poorly constructed breakfast burritos.
Ooh, and then that was the end of that?
Then I stopped.
Understood. I think the thing I love I think my favorite discovery in Los Angeles is the breakfast burrito, because it was not a thing I had growing up. And what's amazing to me is I currently have 3 favorite breakfast burritos, and I'll explain them to you in due course. They are the more...
This is like when the writers went on strike and like Jon Stewart and Conan O'Brien had to go out every day just be like,
just kind of riff.
spin my ring on the table.
I just
What am I
realized,
gonna do?
clearly nobody's watching this. We're pretty far down
I
the
think
taco
everyone's on
rabbit
quarantine, so this is all they have.
We're
People
your
say
only
that they like
option.
these food discussions, so
they?
we're going to test that theory.
We're going to find out. So these are my 3 current favorite breakfast burritos. One is the more classic. So it's an egg, cheddar cheese, turkey bacon situation with a little bit of potato. And then what comes with is an avocado dipping sauce. It's an avocado basil dipping sauce, which I find delicious. Now this is maybe once every 2 months, because as you can tell, it's a lot. Another favorite that is a rare occasion breakfast burrito that I enjoy. Again, we're still in the realm of fairly classic. It's egg, it's shrimp this time. It's like a grilled and seasoned shrimp. I know, but it's delicious. Believe me.
For seafood.
It's got a little pico on there, a little bit of potato, and cheese of your choice. You might like to switch it up here and there. But it's the seasoning. It's very well prepared, organic, very fresh, and the seasonings are delicious. And my 3rd favorite breakfast burrito is at this place I like to go in Burbank, and it's kind of like a American food and Korean food fusion restaurant. And so it's like they have a fried chicken sandwich that has like a kimchi slaw that's really good. And this burrito is a egg, flour tortilla, and then it has like the kind of like marinated. It has bulgogi, yeah. I don't always get it, but it does. And it has that onion. I don't get it because I don't eat red meat, but so it has like that marinated pickled onion.
Yeah.
So I throw in a little bit of kimchi to that, and then I switch the bulgogi out for tofu. And it comes with this verde sauce that is, it sounds like these things don't go together, but the fusion element.
Like a lot of flavor.
It's a flavor explosion, if you will.
I would argue that 2 of those 3 are not even breakfast burritos. Those sound like that's a lot of flavor for that early in the morning.
It sounds like 2 burritos and a breakfast burrito, but that's great. Anything's breakfast if you eat it early enough.
That's true.
You know what? I'm a weekend liver. I live for the weekends. And my breakfast burrito. This has been good for me to talk about with you guys. So we're
Movies, am I right?
we're gonna crash this train. It's number 5 for us today, so I hope you'll forgive us and indulge us for the taco talk. Moving forward, what you're going to see is a combination of us and another group of people.
Bell.
Yes, we're going to be doing a number of pre-tapes. We're well past the point where you would have seen those other pre-tapes and a couple of live episodes. But thank you for sticking with us. We will be back with some array of people, unless we're not. And in that case, we'll update you with why we're not.
I'm going to try to bowl Spencer's...
Go for it.
Hey!
I
give it a force behind it.